You will sleep now. A long sleep.
Running full system diagnostics. Machine status fully operational. System online. All stations are now enabled. Target dogma resistance. Operation overkill.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully loud and clear, live. Hopefully not out of desync and all that weird stuff that we had going on before. Hopefully things are working out a little bit better. We're trying something out. So we are back for round 2 of Raceface GT3 Season 4. I'm joined again by Rai. Ryan, you're with me, mates?
I am indeed, George. I am here, I am back, and it's been 24 hours since we've seen some incredible racing at Laguna Seca, and I have to say, I'm ready for some more.
So I just had to maybe adjust your microphone settings a little bit. We may have been coming out a little bit hot with the new audio settings, so you're going to just have to see how things go on this front, guys. We're waiting, of course, for the quali server to get started here, Laguna Seca. We were here last night in the GT4s. It was some good racing. We had some good mid-pack battles, but this grid is it's star-studded and it's superb. So I'm actually just amped for what's about to go down here tonight. So can't wait. The servers look to be up. We should be jumping over into our quali session shortly. So without further ado, let's waste no more time. See if we can jump into this and get the show on the road. So Let me just make sure that everything is connected up. So we've got our timing splits up. Always just a little bit of a fun time getting set up, making sure that everything's working the way that it should. Should have some game audio coming through. We should be able to go over to our race scene now. Oh, we might have duplicate audio. Here we go. I should have fixed the duplicated audio that might have been coming through. I saw we had two sources coming up hot through that. So we have hopefully fixed that up. Ryan, if you don't mind giving a little test listen through. So quali has started, 17 minutes on the qualifying grid at the moment. And we've got some pretty amazing drivers, like I mentioned before. You just look at that timing sheet on the left side, just some big names in sim racing, and most certainly South African sim racing. And we've got an EU guest as well. We might even have two EU guests or EU entrants. I know that Darren King is one of them. But yeah, I mean, last week he took the victory, a victory that he was not really fought out for. So, you know, this time around, maybe someone going to give him a little bit of a harder time out on the circuit. Just waiting for everybody to get out and start doing those qualifying laps so we can start to see those times that our drivers are going to set today. 122.758 comes out from Jameson Adsmeyer. And I think we are peaking in sound. So I'm going to just switch things back up to our other audio setting quickly. Ryan, have I still got you with me at this point?
Yes, you do. I've just been having a look through the field, having a look through the order, of course. We had the GT4 race last night, and of course, quite a few familiar names in there, and of course, a lot of familiar names for me in the GT3 class. So obviously, I'm just having a little bit of a scan up and down the order of the timing sheet, and seeing who I recognise from last night. And someone I definitely recognise from last night is Arno Versailles at the top of the timing board so far in qualifying. 1:22.251. Of course, he took an impressive victory yesterday in the KTM in the GT4 Championship, didn't he, George?
He did indeed, and looking to back this up in the GT3s now. You know, he's on a bit of a winning streak. If we look at the GT4s, he's won twice on the trot there, and now into the GT3s. Definitely looking to be impressive here. Junior McCall, hot on his heels though in this quali session, sits in second in that Lamborghini, the number 99, 200ths of a second behind the likes of Visaki and Victor de Kock up here in his WRG Nissan. So good to see a GTR, the sole GTR as far as I remember. But Victor de Kock out on the circuit and looking to have a good time. Alaric Ensign, of course, from the Coach Dave Academy, looking all kinds of loose on the exit there in the dark. He had a great race last week, picked up a podium. Hadn't put much effort in as far as I remember. He didn't have time to practice, but came in, got himself a good finish last week. Wade Claessens, we yet to see him on the timing sheet. He's currently down in 11th place, exiting the pits. He finished second last week. So our top three there definitely separated up. Looking down the order to see if I can find out Darren King, or see where Darren King is. I don't see him in the server just yet.
He might be at SimGrid tonight because they do
That's
have they have a one-off event at Kyalami going on 90-minute driver swap race, so he may be at SimGrid with Sean Arnold. But I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Okay, I mean, potentially out there. So going back to Alaric, let's see if he can get a lap in here. He's 2/10 up at the moment, making his way up towards the corkscrew. Just needs to get that lap in. Potentially jump himself up maybe to 3rd place if he finds a little bit more. There's some traffic in front of him, gets out the way. So responsible driving coming out from the drivers that are just out doing their cooldown lap or have invalidated their laps. The 4/10 up now. This is looking very quick for Alaric Enslin, potentially going to snatch this away from Junior McCall because Masters has also jumped himself up there. Versace down the order a bit. Up into 2nd place goes the 889 Coach Dave Academy BMW. 3/10 behind Junior McCall's time of a 1:21, which has just now been topped by Keegan Masters in the G4 Sim Porsche. So the number 18 slots himself in, dives out to jump back to the pits, I'm sure.
Can I just comment as well, that lap from Alaric Enslin, what a lap in the BMW as well. I mean, I know the BMW's had a BOP update as of late, makes it a bit more competitive in the GT3 class, but that is an absolutely phenomenal lap time as well, and especially considering how well cars like the Ferrari and the Lamborghini do here. That is a very good time from the Coach Dave Academy BMW.
Indeed it is. Definitely not a favorite pick coming out. There's, I think it's Van Lockenberg also in that 136. So not a big pick out there. Just to highlight that we've got 33 cars currently in the quali session. So it's going to be pretty packed out here in what is a pretty short circuit in the calendar. That should make for some interesting racing. And Keegan Masters currently sits up at the top. If I pull up the timing sheet, we'll be able to get a little bit more of a rundown of who's who in the zoo. So Masters, McCall, Grobler, Enslin, Versace, Strauss, Bego, Grobler, McCall, De Kock, and Ansel round out the top 10. And then we've got Harding, Lewis, Radloff, Absmeyer, Claessens, Rowe, Albertine, Preyling, Gambon, Barkhazen, Spammers, or Spammers, I think is how we say it, Van Lachenberg and Sienerin down to 24th place. And then if I can just scroll down on the sheets a little bit on my side, I should be able to. We'll then be able to see not all the guys have set laps out here just yet. 27th we'll see down Bogo and Van Veek, but everybody's still jumping around at the moment. JC Grobler is up to 4th place.
Jordan Sherritt with a 121.0, almost breaking into the 120s here with that Lamborghini, just 27 thousandths of a second away from that. And of course, he has a 6/10 gap between himself and Keegan Masters behind him for second on the grid. So it's looking pretty good so far for Jordan Sherritt in the Lamborghini. But of course, it's a bit of an odd track, that Laguna. It's not really the kind of track you would expect the Lamborghini to do well here, but the Lamborghini does like this circuit.
And Jordan, of course, coming off the back of having a lot of drive and pace in the Lamborghinis with all the time and effort that he's been putting in. So for him, it's a car that he really does have a bit of a mastery for. So good to see him up there. It's unfortunate. It's almost like King and Sherritt miss each other week in, week out. And without King here, Sherritt then looks very, very healthy up towards the front. Masters does slide himself back into second ahead of Junior McCall with that he's 6/10 off the pace himself and Junior McCall of getting onto the back of Sherritt. They're both out on circuits trying to see if they can better their positions. But for now, it's looking a little bit difficult for them. I mean, 6/10 is a lot of time to have to find.
It is. Six tenths of a second is definitely a lot, especially in qualifying trim as well. You're already carrying very minimal fuel for a lot of these cars, and you've got to go out and find 6/10 of a second on merit. Going to be very, very difficult. But looking down the order, though, George, look how close some of these positions are. I mean, if you look at 7th place with Rowe in the 43 Audi, and you go all the way down from 7th to, was it 15th place, it's only about 3/10 of a second separating those 8 positions. So a lot of the guys sitting in that area, just a couple of tenths up on their lap time, they could jump a significant amount of places.
It's all about just finding those small gaps and opportunities when they arise. And like you said, the mid pack and even the fronts of the order, all the way down to the bottom of the order here, a lot of drivers pretty close to one another, which means that racing on track should be good for us as broadcasters and viewers. Again, hoping that this amount of cars manages to squeeze themselves around cleanly in the opening lap. It's always a stressful moment to hope that everybody gets themselves through nice and cleanly. Vogel looking to get himself up the order in that Resource Complete Team Tryhard Racing Aston Martin. Of course, one of the teams that sponsors our streams here is Resource Complete, and one of the sponsors, should I say, of the team as well. So good for Resource Complete to have some teams driving in here as well. The other sponsor, of course, would be Black Ribbon Sim, and the Black Ribbon Simulations livery should hopefully be pulling through now. We did re-download them, but for whatever reason they don't seem to be pulling into all of the cars. So we're gonna have to double check why our Black Ribbon Simulation sponsor doesn't pull onto the cars. We did re-download a livery pack before we started this evening, and for whatever reason doesn't seem to be pulling the custom liveries. So for now, default liveries for them. 6 minutes left of this quali session for things to change up. Masters still not yet to find an answer to the likes of this man Jordan Sherritt, who remains out on track looking to break into those 120s, and he's so close to doing so.
Yeah, as I look up and down the field, I think Skitter in 31st, he's up on his time by about 1.4 seconds in the number 13 Audi. Of course, he finds himself well down the order, but if he's going to be increasing his time by as much as it seems to be, and Bernard King as well, down in 32nd, he's 2.2 seconds up on his lap. So I think a few of these guys, oh, and there we go, as Skitter is off the road, and that's unfortunately going to be an invalidated lap for him. But Bernard King, 3.3 seconds up on his time, and I think that was a bit of a timing error, because he has come across the line, he has improved on his time, but not really to the degree that the timing screen was telling us on our end. But
sometimes it does that. Sometimes we get fed misinformation, and we can only go off what we're given. So things are definitely getting into the closing stages, and big loop-de-loo goes that Ferrari as we look down towards the Bentley of the Retro Esports Rainbow number 94. Last night's GT4 winner out here in the GT3s. A couple of drivers doing both series, so mixing things up, having to learn 2 cars for the circuits. At least the circuit remains the same week in, week out. Of course, the season stays open to everybody that wants to join. Head over to www.raceface.pro, sign up to the Discord, and come and just join in the racing. Plenty of tiers and divisions. I think we've got 4 tiers racing every night in the GT3 side, and the Pro-Am division being streamed this evening for the first time by Doe. So if you guys want to head over to that, I'm going to just pop a link to the Pro-Am stream. If you want to head over there, leave a like, leave a hello. But yeah, we're trying to broadcast as many of the tiers as we can. So if you are interested in broadcasting, you want to get involved, there's still 2 other tiers that are there, as well as possibly Joe looking for a co-caster for Pro-Am. So that's my plugs in my cheeky ass business done for this evening. We've done our chores. I'll be mentioning our sponsors throughout the stream. So, you know, if you haven't gone and liked the Black Ribbon Simulations socials and the Resource Complete socials, please go and do so. Leave a like on our stream if you like what we do, and give it a share if you are feeling so brave to do so. 3 minutes on the clock, Ryan. How are you feeling? Are you excited? I mean, this is probably the biggest ZA race you've got to watch, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, so many names here. We've got, is it 33 cars? I think here on the grid at the moment here for qualifying, and yeah, I mean, definitely one of the biggest ZA races that I've had the pleasure of being able to commentate on. And obviously, like I said last night, you know, I do like coming down here. It's, you know, it's nice, and I love getting to, you know, to mix in with the South Africans, get to know a lot of these guys that, you know, I mean, you know, and a lot of the guys around here, obviously watching the stream, know the South African names. You have Jordan Scherer, Junior McCall, Morgan McCall, Arne Visahi, Jason Absmeyer. You know, you guys know all these names. I'm starting to get familiar with a lot of them, and I'm starting to see quite a few of them, you know, move over to the more international scene as well. And you know, it's always nice for me on some of the Racing Club International broadcasts that I do, where I can kind of bring over that knowledge of South African drivers into the into the Racing Club International streams, and kind of just add a bit more, you know, of experience and knowledge for the guys at home that, you know, quite a few people here that have no idea who these guys are.
All what it's about is highlighting the sim drivers that participate in the series and giving them a place to have a nice race environment with some live commentary attached. So thank you, Ryan, for joining all the way from the UK. Of course, I can't extend my gratitude enough. It's always good to have you here. And an 80-minute GT3 race for us to commentate on at Laguna Seca is going to be good fun. I feel that the grid is going to... There's almost a guarantee of racing all across the field. So, you know, for me, it's going to be a balance between complete chaos and excitement. I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring.
It's going to be exciting for sure as we enter the last minute of qualifying now. Jordan Scherer leads the way, and leads the way quite dominantly, doesn't he? With half a second over the second place Junior McCall. And, well, Lamborghini front row at the moment, so it's looking pretty good for them. But of course, George will be cheering on Keegan Masters for sure in the number 18 Porsche. I'm sure you've already got your flag out, haven't you, George, on the sideline here?
I mean, it's a bit of a balance, right? Because obviously I manage White Rabbit Gaming, and our sim team here, as of course we've got the likes of Victor de Kock and Jason Absmeyer driving in some fun cars compared to the rest of the entries coming out. You know, they wanted something a little bit different. So to me, it is going to be a bit of a difficult call because I've got my bias towards the WRG sim team. But at the same time, Porsche up in third place, maybe the rival, maybe the one that I need to do. So at this point, you may have called my bluff. I might be backing the G4 Sim Porsche this evening. Quali concluded, Ryan, and that means that we're going to be heading over to our race very, very shortly. A lot of the drivers jumping into the pits, not going to be setting another lap. Jordan Sherritt has he has actually cracked into the 120s, a 120.991 coming out on his last lap. So this will be his final lap, and he's matching the same pace that he had out there. So this potentially could be a little bit quicker. I've learned to sort of read this timing sheet that when we don't have the when we don't have a split showing, it's normally that you're not doing better, but at the moment I'm seeing a 10th coming into the final corner, and this could be a crack overlap once again. He doesn't like having more than 6/10 between him and the person behind, so he goes and does a 120.757. Insane pace coming out from Sherritt, 8/10 quicker than Junior McCall in second, Keegan Masters in third place on the grid, and then we've got Alec Enslin slotting into fourth, Arno Versace into fifth, JC Krob into sixth, Jason Absmeyer into seventh, Daniel Rowe into eighth, ninth for Johannes Schreling, and 10th for Morgan McCall to round out the top 10. And over to the grid for an early morning start once again. So we saw this in the GT4s. We know that there's going to be a sunrise. And obviously with this being a little bit longer in terms of race time, potentially, more of that beautiful sunrise. So something to look forward to if you're a keen cinematographer. We talk about the lighting in ACC a lot. And this grid, man, let me just pull up a timetable there. What do you think of the mixture of manufacturers for this season so far, Ryan?
I think it's quite interesting. Looking down the leaderboard here that we have for the race here tonight. Obviously, 2 Lamborghinis on the front row. I'm going to be happy about that. There's obviously a Porsche and a BMW in the top 5 as well. We've got a McLaren in the top 10. Of course, that's Jason Absmeyer in the McLaren. Then, of course, there's another BMW in the top 10, and there's a Nissan in there to boot as well. Obviously, the number 89. So yeah, there's quite a good spread of cars here. It's actually really nice to see, and I do love my Lamborghinis, and I'll never not love them. But I am going to be cheering a bit tonight for the 889 BMW because I had a bit of a play around with the BMW earlier today, George, for an esports series that you and I will be getting involved in hopefully very soon. And I had a bit of a play with the BMW M6 at Monza, and I have to say I really, really like the car. And it's starting to creep in there as a contender for one of my top 3 favorites in ACC.
But I do like that you've spiced it up with a little bit of variety there, because I think that BMW does deserve a little bit more love and appreciation. It doesn't get picked enough to make a nice decorated grid. So always nice to have a bit of variety coming out. It feels like I'm biased just following along with our front leading Porsche, but the pack led out by Jordan Sherritt, Morgan McCall. Like you mentioned, Ryan, the fact that the 2 Lamborghinis out leading things away, so definitely finding something with a car that we don't often see up towards the front of the order, but recently getting picked up by quite a few drivers. Arno Versace in fifth, the man to watch for sure. He's alongside his teammate JC Krobler. So those two are, in prime position to make their way through the order should they wish to do so. Jason Absmeyer from the White Rabbit Gaming team going to slot into 7th in that lone McLaren. 8th for Daniel Rowe, also a driver to keep your eye out on. I feel like I'm going to save this for everybody. So let me just try, I'm going to try and fix up our audio once again with a different setting. So let's see if this works out again. So 2 by 2, they line themselves up. And Ryan, do you want to just give me a little audio there as well?
I can. So 2 Lamborghinis on the front row of the grid for the second, I believe the second round of the championship here at Laguna Seca. Jordan Sherritt on pole with Junior McCall alongside him. Keegan Masters and Ulrich Enslin behind them. And then, of course, Arno Vasahi and JC Grobler on the third row.
Nice little helicam perspective, I think, to get a start to this race down the start finish straight. 4 a.m. on the clock. Green lights are go. Drive-through penalty to Jason Absmeyer for that start, so that's not going to have gone his way. And look at Daniel Rowe having a look on the inside here of that Lamborghini from the ATK driver of Junior McCall, and nicely done there. Big collision coming out in the background there as well. So it looks like there's been a car spun around coming into the starting hairpin. I'm going to leave our cameras to just update themselves. You can still see quite a couple of cars on the grid getting away okay. Jordan Sherritt having a nice start, but a great jump up coming out from the Porsche, starting in third, getting into that second place spot nice and early on. Ulrich Enslin tails behind. That drive-through penalty for Jason Absmeyer in fifth, going to force him to retire down to the pits early on, and that will be a dropout from Jason Absmeyer. I feel he's not had good luck with drive-through penalties or things in the seasons before, and unfortunately there, I think it's a little bit too much. Ulrich Enslin then going to be the one to lead the chase up to the front three. And look in the background there, Ryan.
Yeah, plenty going on in the background as Morgan McCall experiencing a bit of pressure from the likes of Arno Vasahi, and then of course JC Grobler behind them as well. And look at the gap that the top four have already over the rest of the chasing pack. 2.8 seconds between the 889 BMW and the 43 Audi. So there's definitely been something that's happened there in that little pack there for about 5th, 6th place that's caused that gap to emerge. And now it's up to 3 seconds as well. As you start to see from the onboard perspective of Arno Vasahi, you can see that pack up at the front. And then obviously right in front, you can see Morgan McCall and Rowe in the 43 Audi. And of course, but Arno Vasahi didn't get a great start, did he? He was 5th on the grid, and he's dropped down to 7th now. And I think it was Grobler, wasn't it, who was 6th on the grid. He's dropped down to 8th. So a couple of these guys not really getting the ideal start.
So I mean, I think JC Grobler there in that Ferrari was the one that got almost turned around through Andretti and on lap 1. So I think that was him getting back round. Still luckily holds it in the top 10. I do like those front LEDs in that Ferrari. Look how pink they shine through on that Retro Esports Ferrari. But down the order, I mean, this is just a train as far as the eye can see, as everybody just trying to settle themselves in. It's a long endurance race, and the stints aren't going to, you know, just warrant that early pushing. You want to just have an easy drive, should I say. You know, you don't want to find yourself being on edge the entire time. But if you are towards the front here, I feel like everybody being forced to kind of keep up with the car in front, else or very wide goes Victor de Kock there, I believe. And he's very much off circuit at this point. So things not going well for White Rabbit at this point, which, of course, for me, not the way that I would have wanted to see things, Ryan. But that's the way that racing goes sometimes. And plenty of drivers on track having a good race. And Junior McCall really keeping on the back end of that number 18 Porsche in front of him. So he's just trying to wait for that small mistake, that opportunity to come through. And if he doesn't do that pretty soon, he's of course got Ulrich Enslin breathing down his throat.
Yeah, the BMW of Enslin's in the perfect situation right now, isn't he? He doesn't have to, you know, try and force an overtake on the Lamborghini. All he has to do is try and see if Junior McCall is going to try for an overtake, maybe get it wrong, make a mistake, and he can capitalize on the opportunity. You know, and he doesn't have to worry about anyone behind him. He's got a 5-second gap between himself and 5th place. So Alaric Enslin sitting in a really, really good spot right now. He's going to be comfortable. He's going to be happy that he's got all the cards and he's got everything to play for right now. And he's just going to be keeping himself within reach of that Lamborghini. And he's doing an absolutely fantastic job so far. 5 minutes down on the clock as we see Christopher Radloff in the 316 Porsche. And Audi, sorry, in the Audi. It was the Porsche just in front of Quade Claessens. And here is Hannes van Wijk. And oh no, and rolling back across the track as well. He's taken out the Audi. Was that, I think that was Barkhuizen, wasn't it? In the 103.
I think you are. No, it wasn't Barkhuizen. He's managed to get through. It looks like it was possibly Strauss or Skitter that got caught out.
I think it was Skitter.
It was Skitter. Strauss is in an AMG. I think you're right. Skitter to the pits and absolute disaster coming out, losing it, not staying on the brakes, rolling it back across the track. And that is going to be a very unfortunate end to Skitter's potential chances up towards the front of the order. It's waiting for our timing sheets to also update here, Ryan. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one of the things that's, you know, you've got to be so careful of, and we always kind of make a point of it a lot of the time in some of our events, is that, you know, if you have a situation where your car goes spinning and it's going to roll back on track, you have to hold the brake.
Yeah, you do have to. It's part of it. You have to do so. And this little battle coming down, Bego Grabler putting some pressure onto the likes of Christopher Radloff from Seca, driver that has spent some time with Bruno Cadilli, and I believe an upcoming talent and someone to watch out for. So right now, Bego Grabler looking to see where he can potentially get a move done. Quade Claessen's in front of all of this, also being caught up to by the sort of push coming out from the Lamborghini of Bego Grabler, and just behind them is Francis Vogel from the same team. So Bego Grabler and Vogel looking to make their way through the order together. And does he look to the inside here? He does go for a bit of a big look, and he's going to have to compromise his exit coming through. Radloff going to get it nicely timed. And that's a good bit of driving from Radloff. Saw it coming, gave the space, went wide, knew that he'd have the drive out, but down the end of the start-finish straight, where does that Lamborghini go? And Radloff could have turned in there. We saw this happen in the GT4s there, and gets bullied out of 2 positions there. The Team Tryhard Resource Complete team just getting themselves some work done into the Andretti hairpin. And a big send coming through. So I don't think Radloff going to be 100% happy with the look up, or the look at the fronts. He's going to not have liked the fact that they went on the inside there, but you know, if the gap is left open, I suppose someone's going to always chuck it in if they are so inclined. But it could have, you saw him turning in, Ryan. I mean, he backed out of that. That could have been the end of a race for 3 drivers had he turned in on that.
Definitely so, and it's one of the things I've kind of repeated a few times now. Perception is an underrated skill in racing and in sim racing. Your ability to perceive an accident happening and take avoiding action. It's so useful, and especially at tracks like this, or Laguna Seca, where you don't really have that much room and you have to make a split-second decision in a really short space of time. And split-second decision, that's what Vogel took when he saw the gap open up, and he got himself a free place, didn't he? And he'll be really happy about that. I'm just keeping an eye on this battle for second place, by the way, with Keegan Masters, Junior McCall, and Ulrich Enslin. It just seems to keep switching back and forth a bit. You know, McCall keeps catching Masters on one section of the track, and then the Porsche starts to pull away, and the BMW starts reeling in the Lamborghini. So this gap is constantly fluctuating, and you can see it in action a bit here as they come through the corkscrew now. So that the Lamborghini closes up a lot on the braking, but then look how much closer the BMW gets to the Lamborghini out of the corkscrew and on the exit into this final sector. But it just seems that the Lamborghini has enough torque and pace down the straights to keep the BMW at bay.
Oh, I mean, right onto the back end. He goes down into the final corner. Alaric Enslin doing a good job to keep the pressure up here on McCall. It is definitely hampering his ability to make any progress up towards the likes of Masters. So Masters still gets a little bit of that breathing space that we talk about when someone gets into a on-track battle. Well, shout out to our viewers in chat. Sorry about the audio issues we had earlier. I'm trying to fix up the audio desync between the video and the sound using the NDI plugin, and I tried a new little switch and it hasn't quite worked the best. So we've lost the audio delay, which is better, but I can't control audio sources from my PC anymore, so it's a little bit confusing. I need to sort some things out, so I'll be fiddling throughout the week and sorting that out for next week. So just a little sorry for that. Shout out to all our viewers, of course. Ian McKenzie, Clinton, Rydell. We've got Jean-Ray Badenhorst, Robert McCall here, Ryan Gill, of course. That's Ryan. You can't talk in the chat and be in the comments box. You need to focus on the racing at hand. I'm gonna jump down the racing grid here down to Hrobler, who's still bleeding out positions. I mean, he's down to 10th place now, Ryan. I think that early start didn't really work out for him. And at the moment, he's definitely a little bit off the pace. 124.108 is last lap. And that's almost 3/10 slower than the likes of Lewis behind him. He is getting back on it now. There was a better lap coming out from him. So, bit of a mistake. And I think maybe that's why he bled down some positions.
Yeah, definitely, and it is a bit concerning as well, especially when you take into account that the Ferrari, it goes well around here. It does like this circuit, and JC Grobler, unfortunately, not doing so well here. Maybe not just getting on with the track. Did have a good qualifying though, so kind of hints that maybe there's something else going on with that car beyond just himself. But Daniel Rowe in the Audi. He's doing pretty well in 7th place. And here we're looking at Brian Lewis in the 101 Audi. And of course he's got is it Spamers behind him in the 29?
Spammers, I believe is how we say Spammers, yeah. So Jan Spammers, he's a quick driver. He's been showing a lot of potential. I've noticed him a couple of times coming out. So Black Widow Racing Scorpions, the team name. Look at that nice little Raceface logo on the front. Oh, big spin coming out. Is that Junior McCall? No, not Junior McCall.
It's Morgan McCall, I think.
It's Morgan, yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think it's one of the McCalls, and that is a big spin coming out, and that's going to be positions coming down. I don't know that we'll be able to catch that back. 13th place will be where Morgan McCall resumes from.
It was quite an unusual one, wasn't it? Before the it was before the final corner, wasn't it? So I'm thinking maybe potentially ran wide on the exit of the penultimate corner, got onto the sand, and that's something we didn't really mention here yesterday in the GT4 Championship. But it's so whoa as the AMG goes spinning around again.
Yeah, these are. Let's see if we can see what quite happened there. Of course, we've got the custom liveries going for these drivers, so jumping back in replays doesn't always work out, and we're probably just going to catch the tail end of this.
Yeah, this is the problem here you have at Laguna Seca. We might have optimum track grip out here, but optimum track grip here at Laguna Seca is not the same thing as optimum track grip at, say, Spa-Francorchamps or Monza. This is a very slippery circuit, and the moment you start to dip a tire into the sand, you just lose all the grip that you've generated over the course of so many laps of just collecting rubber. And it takes a while to get back into that groove, and maybe you're just seeing that there from Morgan McCall, that got onto the sand, just lost a lot of the heat in those tires, a lot of the grip, and just couldn't really recover it with the speed he was trying to take through some of those corners.
And I think the previous spin at the final corner obviously puts a lot of temperature into the rear tires, and we saw him kind of spinning the car around twice to get back on track. So not having much grip coming in there, it didn't work out for him. Corne Strauss in the chat, he was one of our drivers. We saw him drop out pretty early on, giving us some insight there. Didn't make it through turn 1, so we did see a little bit of what I would call murder in the background while we were tracking along with the front of the pack. Boyd Claessens, last week's second place finisher, currently in 14th place, trying to get past the likes of Christopher Radloff in front of him, and he's got the likes of Jaden Gambon behind him, and Jaden having a good race here. Talked about him last week, someone relatively new to the ACC side, coming over from Gran Turismo Sports on the PlayStation side of life, and really good to see him racing here in ACC out here and doing good things in the Pro Division. So currently holds down 15th place, and some talented drivers between him that he's going to have to work hard at defending from. Noah Hendricks approaches in that 901 to play Mercedes. A little bit deep and wide goes Hendricks as the 3 drivers in front of him play follow my line. This is a battle on track between the likes of Peters and it looks like Antal behind him, putting in some pressure. And then, of course, that Bentley behind, or sorry, the Bentley here has actually lost out to Antal. So Antal maybe looking to just defend his position at the moment, stays on the inside line. Got to be careful not to lose it on the switchback, and he has lost that grip on the rear end. This is going to allow him to go side by side, not a place you can. And Peters elects to tuck in behind once again. Loses some speed coming up towards the hairpin in doing so. Sorry, up towards the corkscrew in doing so. But rather safe than sorry, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's, what is it? We're 17 minutes into the race now. Still an hour and 3 to go. And the last thing you need to do at this point in the race is throw away all that work. And just been looking through the timing sheets, and I'd noticed that I couldn't see JC Grobler anymore, and the reason for that is because he's come into the pit lane to serve his mandatory pit stop. 213 Ferrari, so he's down in 26th place at the moment. You can see him at the bottom of your timing board there. As Hendricks looks to make place on the mistake from Gambon. And he's going to have a look. He's going to be on the outside line, but he's going to be better on the brakes into turn 4, and he's going to get that done nice and clean. And I get the feeling that the 302 Ferrari didn't really want to fight that too hard.
No, I think it was him not wanting to go hard on that inside line, potentially send it on the curb and get kicked onto the outside and take Hendricks out there. So just backing out, rather go again for a safer route. It's an hour left of racing to complete, so losing it now, not really where you want to find yourself. And to get up towards the front of the order, you do have to just keep consistency out on the circuit. Our front driver is doing exactly that. Jordan Sherritt, again, just showing why he's a little bit of a touch above the rest. 7.1 seconds up the road from Keegan Masters at this point. And Jordan Sherritt, one of the race drive or sim race instructors for the Raceface Speed Labs, who offer training for drivers out on circuits. Get yourself a little bit quicker and help you get into better habits. I think that's what it's all about, building healthy habits from the earliest foundation phase that you can. And if you are a little bit late into it, just eradicating old habits and replacing them with things that are going to be constructive. So Raceface Speed Labs, if you haven't checked them out, you'll find them on the Raceface website. And of course in the Discord, there are group sessions that get offered relatively often, so you can get a little bit of a discounted rate and share a class with a bunch of mates. If you want to all get quicker together, or if you want some one-on-one time, you can just jump out. And Bruno Kadili there as well, obviously from my team, the White Rabbits Gaming Sim Community. So bit of a cheeky self-plug as well. you know, I like what Raceface is doing, and I like that you know, there's some drivers looking to do some coaching and give back to the community.
And of course, the best way to advertise your coaching is to come out in a competitive field and just drive away from all the competition.
No better way at advertising it that way, I suppose. And 8 seconds up the field. Ginny McCall also seems to have found himself some nice pace after the opening 20 minutes. And he's closed that gap right back down to the back of Ansel. Doesn't have the pressure from the BMW. As Enslin also just slipping back into a rhythm. So JC Crowley in front. I mean, he's done that pit stop relatively early. Probably would have slapped on some tires. I'm not quite sure. Just decided that he's. I mean, you've only got one stop, so do you then not change out the tires because you're going in for a stop really early on and you haven't really used them, or do you add to the stop and go on? So not quite sure of what his pit stop strategy was there, Ryan, but will be interesting to see where that yellow Ferrari comes out in all of this as the front of our order starts to catch up to him. Looking back down the field, Franco Albertine showing that there's some pressure up behind. Paul Gaber and I believe Van Lachenberg slotting themselves into the... Oh, Gaber's lost it out of the corkscrew, and that's the Lamborghini facing the wrong direction. Cracked under pressure there, Eugene van Lachenberg. Another Black Widow Racing team, this time the slots. I do like the little South African flags on the... so was that Quade Claessens running off in the background? It is Quade Claessens.
Bit concerning for the ATK Racing Porsche. And Quade Claessens, actually, as he's been competing over at RCI, hasn't he, for the McLaren Masters Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's he's put out some good performances. Even took a win at the first round of the season, George. In the rain at Barcelona, that was actually an incredible race, and I believe he'll be there again for the finale on Monday at Monza in the dark. So that's going to be fairly interesting as well. But yeah, it's been nice to see Quade Claessens come over to Racing Club International and even put a win on the board to show just what the South Africans are made of. Meanwhile, showing people what they're made of, Gambon is well, he's being rather forcefully asserted on by Antel, and the Porsche is going to make his way past. Or is he? As the Ferrari's going to look to defend, he'll be on the outside line, not the ideal line. The Bentley gives him a little nudge into the final corner. That'll have unstabilized him and compromised his exit slightly.
And in the slip, the Bentley will... yeah, he sits in that slip now. And Gambon has to be careful not to lose too many positions here. Can't turn in there. A little collision again through Andretti. They will still stay side by side. They switch back to 147, looking to go on the inside now through turn 2. Side by side they remain. Gambon etches just ahead of Peters though, and he's lost out here before. He does not want to let that happen again. So good defensive driving coming out from EKZ here as Jaden Gambon holds off the likes of Bernard Peters for a little bit, but that Bentley breathing down the neck of the Ferrari as they make their way up the hill towards the corkscrew, Ryan.
Yeah, and I think it was Bernard King made up a place on Barquisen as well in all of that. So the Lamborghini 222 making his way past the Audi.
Big mistake from Gambon, and the corkscrew once again shows you why you cannot mess it up. You just lose so much, and Peters gets himself through. King now behind. That will be Bernard King in that purple Lamborghini, looking to, you know, he's seen Gambon potentially just lose 3 positions in front of him. So at this point, he's looking where he can to pressure that mistake out. Hendricks and Antal down into Andretti, showing that they're a couple of tenths towards one another. Looks like Hendrick's going to still remain ahead of Antol. Has a little bit of dirt getting kicked up. You see some cars running wide. That doesn't work out for them all the time. And behind them is Quade Claessens, of course. He's jumped into the pits now. So another pretty early pit stop coming out. It'd be interesting to see where these guys stack themselves in the bigger scheme of things right at the end.
And just to keep you up to date with what's happening with that podium battle towards the front, they have grouped back up again in second, 3 to 4th. And Keegan Masters, Junior McCall, and Ulrich Inslin all between each other, about 1.2 seconds separating them. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the BMW of Enslin is starting to look a lot more confident and a lot more comfortable around here than the Lamborghini of Junior McCall. Now, I could be wrong with that, but to me it just seems that the BMW is starting to reel in the Lamborghini much quicker than Junior McCall can, well, reel in Keegan Masters.
And Backmark is making some mistakes in front as Richard van Kalle finds himself in a difficult position there. Masters slots himself through, so that's not going to cause too much of a difference as Alaric Enslin also slotted through. So all three of them do get past the bat markers. And again, it's like you said, it's just about that consistency. I do think that Alaric has been showing some nice consistency looking at his times popping up. Junior McCall, a little bit younger, maybe a little bit less experience as well, something to talk about. So a battle between someone who's quite a veteran sim racer as Alaric Enslin. So he might not have the car that's always the bestly suited to a situation. You know, he can pretty much drive anything. But he does have a lot of experience and knows how to handle himself in these sort of situations. So Junior, learning the ropes still. And a young driver with some great talents, obviously driving for ATK. But just got to handle it to the end, right?
I like that, George. I like people going for cars that, you know, maybe they're not entirely comfortable with, or cars that are, you know, kind of unpopular picks and such. You know, I really do like people taking those cars and, you know, kind of throwing them around the track and showing that, look, if you're quick enough, you know, you can get results with these cars. And Ulrich Enslin, more than proving that at the moment. I mean, the Lamborghini is a tried and tested car that if you can, you know, get it under your control and tame the raging bull, should we say, you know, you can get some fantastic results out of it. But of course, Ulrich Enslin in the BMW, you know, a car that really doesn't get that much love. He's right on the back of the Lamborghini, and in fact, coming down towards the Andretti hairpin, maybe having a bit of a look, as I think we see Skitter getting out of the way in the 13 Audi, but I don't think I was mistaken there when it definitely looks to be the case now, as you can see it there on screen, that Ulrich is much closer to the back of McCall than McCall is to the back of Masters, and that's reflected in the timing board as well.
You're not wrong. It's definitely starting to heat up towards the front. Johannes Kraling, he's side by side with the likes of, I believe that's Christian Deploy, so the Latin Esports driver and owner, as far as I understand things. Oh, he's had a big spin as well. So commentator's curse doing the things, a beautiful livery on his car. We get to see the whole thing as he does a couple of donuts. He's not parked in a great place here. He needs to get off that racing line as soon as possible. And the nerves coming through, and that car getting back on circuit, the number 23. He's having a great race up in 8th. He's dropped down to 11th now. They're not what they would have wanted to see. And Ryan, I start to get the feeling that we're going to get a peaking of sun.
Oh, I do love my photography, George Smith, and if I was a photographer, or rather simtographer in this case, I'd be positioning myself up towards the start-finish straight, because like we saw yesterday, that's where all the money shots are. And well, of course, the corner before the corkscrew as well. That was another fantastic spot to catch some screenshots. And like you said, George, I think we are going to start to see the sun rise very, very soon. And 5:08 in the morning, and the glow of the sun ever ominous as the cars continue to go around the circuit here. 21 laps down. And Jordan Sherratt has a 10.8 second lead on Keegan Masters in second place. Junior McCall rounding out the podium positions for the moment, but he is facing pressure from fourth placed Ulrich Enslin in the 889 BMW, Arno Visahi in the 94 Bentley rounding out the top 5. So it's been an interesting first kind of 30 minutes of the race. And we still have just under 50 left to go. And of course, a lot of these guys still have a mandatory pit stop left to do, don't they, George?
They do indeed. That little orange box next to their number, as we see Arno Visaki's coming to serve his. Good camera work from the man sitting inside the tyres. Probably not the safest spot for that pit entry, but oh, look at that glow in the background as Visaki parks in his pit box and his crew can begin to work on it. So that mandatory stop, timed out by everybody at a different place. That's their strategy that they want to fiddle with, and they're pretty much free to do so as long as it's within that pit window. 39 minutes it remains open for. So the closing 10 minutes of the race, you cannot pit. But this is a nice little scrap on track. Not always for position. A lot of drivers get caught out in positions where they catch up with cars that have served their pit stops. It might be a lap down potentially, but yeah, Hendricks here is going to pull away from Antel behind him. Enslin still showing those timing splits to Junior McCall, getting smaller and smaller gradually. That third, final sector here where he does get him into that sort of range and down the start-finish straight. If you can tuck him behind, he uses that slip so well. Hasn't yet had an overtaking opportunity. Hasn't been able to go alongside the number 99 Lamborghini. So a good drive coming out from Junior McCall in front of Alec Benson.
Yeah, I think the Lamborghini just has so much more torque out of the corners than the BMW has, and you don't really see that coming out of the corkscrew. Of course, the corkscrew is such a different corner, and I think the Lamborghini is a bit compromised on its exit from the corkscrew, whereas the BMW, with the weight and the downforce that car carries, it kind of allows itself to go through the corkscrew a bit quicker. And I think that's mainly where Ulrich's gaining all the time. And like you said, George, he just needs to be a bit closer so that he can, maybe have a move into the final corner.
Oh, Ansel very wide, very, very wide. And that's going to allow Peters in that 147 Bentley to get the drive that he needed to come through. That's Quade Claessens, who has served his pit stop behind these drivers. Visaki, the leading car to have served his pit stop so far. Jordan Sherratt has increased that lead to 12.1 seconds, but a little bit of a sloppy exit coming out from Antal. And the Retro Esports number 111 Porsche and be robbed of that position by Bernard Peters. They're almost up to the top 10. Deploy still to go for these guys. They want to get themselves up towards that nice set of points. Enslin and McCall still just showing 4/10 between them. So good close racing between these drivers. They are not letting one another get any sort of edge. And that sun going to start to rise. Will be interesting to see who gets caught off by the sunrises. They are blinding in ACC.
Yeah, look at this here though. We can see on board with Ensign. Look at how the Lamborghini, the engine, the V10 in the back of that car, carrying it up the hill. And of course, the engine in the M6 is no slouch either, but doesn't really have the torque out of the corners that the Lamborghini Huracan Evo has. But Ulrich Enslin looks a lot closer this time round coming out of the corkscrew. Can he carry this pace through the last few corners? Yes, he can, because Junior McCall's made a couple of mistakes. Now, through the penultimate corner up towards the final corner. Is he going to have a look on the inside? No, he thinks he's better of it to stay tucked in behind. And now, as they're going to come on to the following lap, they'll go flat through turn 1 and down towards turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. This is going to be Enslin's best chance of the race so far to make a move on Junior McCall. The BMW on the inside. The Lamborghini takes avoiding action. Probably didn't need to do so, but the BMW of Ulrich Enslin makes the place up. He's into third. Can Junior McCall respond through turn 4? Not quite. And that was a fairly good move from Ulrich Enslin. Maybe a bit late on the brakes, but I really don't think Junior McCall needed to take the avoiding action he did.
No, we'll go back and just watch another replay of this. Let's see how Alaric does this. So gets right into that slip, goes up on the inside, doesn't cut through any of the corners coming down, and I don't think it is avoiding action coming down. Both them running a little bit deep coming through, and a nice clean move. Again, we've talked about this before. It's putting pressure on to force the error of the driver in front, and exactly what Enslin has done there. So we follow from the rear facing splitter cam. We can see that Lamborghini of Junior McCall a couple of car lengths down the road now. So hopefully Enslin can start to put some pressure onto Masters in front. So I mean, the two of them did a pretty good job to keep the pace up with that second place car. And Masters in that number 18 going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Ooh,
very deep.
Wide.
He has, but it's not deep enough for the likes of Junior to come back in. So Junior being down after the start finish straight hasn't been able to capitalize on that mistake. But at this gap, if a mistake like that's made again, Junior will snap that up, and Enslin has to be very, very careful of that. Albertine down here, showing that he's got Versace coming past him. This is, of course, these drivers are not really battling for position because they've running on different strategies. And oh no, they've actually come together, I think, there. I'm going to try and get a 30-second replay back of that as well. I do see on our track map we have had some kind of a collision. So Albertine in that white, red and blue Aston Martin here, yet to go into the pits. Versace behind in the blue Bentley has gone into the pits. It was the run here that really worked for Versace. Up towards the corkscrew, gets almost alongside and looks to go on the inside, and oh, a little tap on the rear quarter panel, and both of them keep it out of the wall, but Albertine will go into the pits after that. So Versace, maybe a little bit of damage done to his car, we're not entirely sure.
I think that was quite a shame for Albertine as well, because I don't necessarily think he did anything wrong. He just kind of held his line on the outside, and I think Arno Versace kind of went to take the normal line that you would have through the corkscrew, and unfortunately Albertine just there on the outside line. So probably just a racing incident realistically, but yeah, kind of a shame for both drivers, as after that mistake that Ulrich Enslin made after he got past the likes of Junior McCall, he has started to gap him again, and he's closing in on the Porsche of Keegan Masters. So wouldn't be surprised if Enslin is going to have a chance at the Porsche within a couple of laps' time, as I'm starting to get a few glimpses now of the sun coming through. We're just starting to see a few of those lovely orange patches on the track and around the side on the tyre walls as well. And look at the fantastic view. You just got a glimpse of it there, didn't you? And there it is.
Oh, hello sun. We appreciate you. Like you said, that rear facing cam from the top of the hill gives us a nice little view of what's to come. And of course that onboard view as they now track around with the sun glaring in their eyes, not always the easiest thing to deal with. The Masters here catching up with traffic is going to he's going to try and make his way through this as quick as he can, because the Enslin behind him has to deal with it too. So he can dispatch it where it works. Oh, big slide coming out. Enslin does well to avoid it. Nice avoiding coming out from the M6. And it just goes to show that at any moment, something can go wrong. We've seen a couple of cars trying to compete for some pirouette of the day points. Black Ribbon Sim, I forgot to actually tell you, we have an overtake of the day powered by Black Ribbon Simulations, which is a pair of Sparko Racing sim gloves, and that goes through all the divisions. So any of the drivers that are out and racing can take a recording of their overtakes, and those are going to go down into an overtake of the season, should I say. So it's not of the day, it's of the season. And of course the GT3 Pro Race Division winner, so from this tier that we stream, takes home a pair of Sparko race gloves as well. So you could potentially win two sets if you get an overtake of the day and win the season, I suppose. But yeah, I'm glad that that's open to all the tiers, so everybody can submit that and get a part of the competition.
It's cool. I like the idea. I like the concept, and of course it kind of encourages clean overtaking as well, because of course, you know, to get an overtake of the day, or an overtake of the season rather, you know, it needs to be clean. And you know, if there's a reward in there for some fantastic overtakes that are nice and clean, then all the better, as we get a absolutely amazing shot of the sun as Junior McCall runs a bit wide and kicks up some of the sand onto the track. He's got to be careful that he doesn't start doing that too often, as we did just see a Lamborghini go spinning after touching the sand.
Very slippery surface outside of the racing lines, and now Visahi, with you know, having gone in, he's probably got a little bit more tire life in. He's put it already, and he's a lap down here on the likes of Junior McCall, so probably does have the tires advantage over the likes of the Lamborghini in front of him. But Junior not wanting to allow Visahi to get on with unlapping himself. I mean, that will happen once the likes of Junior McCall gets into the pits. This is some good racing though coming out, and I really like the pace that everybody's bringing to the table. Little shot there of Franco Albertine and Egan Masters up in front of Junior McCall coming through turns 4. A couple of cars just showing up on the split timings as being out of position. Just a couple of drivers have also dropped out, so sometimes it's hard to quite see what's a real split gap and what's not. But up towards the front here, I think the story is that nobody yet to go into the pits. We need to spend some time with Jordan Sherritt, because he's going in after finally building up an almost 14-second lead over Keegan Masters. So that is an interesting lead coming out. So I want to see where Jordan manages to come out when he does come out of the pits. As Keegan Masters will then take the lead of the race. Where's Arne Visahi in all of this? Still a little bit down. He's only going through the Andretti hairpin. So Jordan Sherritt going to come out.
He's found himself. Arne Visahi, sorry, he's found himself right behind Junior McCall's Lamborghini, but obviously a lap down.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work out for him in that situation. So Sherritt comes out of the pits. He's gonna get out comfortably ahead of Masters. I mean, Masters is only now sending it up. Is that turn 5 or 6? 5.
He's coming up to the corkscrew just now.
Correct. So
that means Jordan Sherritt will drop down to 5th place after his pit stop. But of course, the top 4 still yet to do their stop, and they have 26 minutes left to do so, as Ulrich Enslin starts to get closer and closer to the back of the Porsche of Keegan Masters, and Keegan Masters has dived into the pit lane.
So he does not want to lose any of that time battling it out with Enslin. He wants to go and be in control of where he serves his stop. Out in the chats, Etienne Klebius says, hi all, damn, looks so fun. Looks like a lot of fun out there. We'll see you all in season 3. This is season 4, so you'll see us in season 5. But if you do want to register up, the registrations are still open. So we only enter round 2. If you do want to join up, still open for entries. Alaric Enslin yet to pit. Junior McCall, I believe, Robert McCall saying here that Junior may stop. He's hurt his finger. So maybe getting caught in a paddle shifter, an emergency finger injury. But that's not going to work out well for the number 99 Lambo driver. And going to have to be dealing with some IRL issues at the same time.
It's never a good thing, is it, when you injure yourself on the sim? Speaking from experience, and it can be quite painful, especially during a race. So all the best to Junior. Hope he hasn't got too much wrong with his finger, and obviously a shame because he was running very, very well, and he is still running as Ulrich Enslin's come into the pit lane as well now. So it's going to be interesting to see if that one lap undercut is going to be enough for Enslin or overcut, sorry, to be enough to jump ahead of Keegan Masters. We'll have to see, as we're watching Jordan Sherritt at the moment work his way around, and he should be coming out in second place if Grayling doesn't pit, but Grayling will be pitting, so Jordan Sherritt should be coming back out into the lead of this race on the next lap.
Gonna get past the back markers. You can see him on the flashes. Doesn't want to lose out time. And our front 3 all in the pits as Jordan Sherritt takes over the lead of the race. Alaric Enslin going to start to roll out. And where is Masters in all of this? He's coming down into start, or the final corner to go down the start-finish straight. Enslin will now be getting on the gas. It is going to be close indeed. This is going to be a good situation to follow. Masters coming down. You'll see Enslin on the inside. Enslin needs to get on that gas early, but it's such a hard corner to come around. I think Enslin will just edge ahead. He will indeed come out ahead of Masters, and that worked out brilliantly for him.
Yep, Masters went in early, Enslin the following lap, and look at that, 6/10 ahead. So he's managed to jump. But he's gained about 1.2 seconds then, because he was about 6/10 behind. So, yeah, Enslin doing very, very well on the pit stops there to jump ahead of the likes of Keegan Masters, and that's going to net him second place at the moment. And I have to say, second place in that BMW around here at Laguna Seca, what a result that's going to be. It's assuming he can hold on to it for the next 32 minutes and 30 seconds of this race, but considering what we've seen so far from him, I'd like to think that's probably doable.
I don't disagree with you. I think the potential is there, and it's been a good start to the season really for Alaric Enslin. He can find a second place here after picking up third last week. Definitely good for the points log. Peter's still yet to go into the pits. I say that he goes in. Looks like everybody out, having served their mandatory stop now. Well, everybody up to 23rd that we can see. Let's see where Deploy is on circuit. He's sending it down the inside of the likes of Antel. Round the outside, round the inside. And Antel trying to answer back. Got to be careful not to make that mistake. We saw the number 23 facing the wrong direction early on. And Christian Deploy doing his best here to hold off Antel. But we know that Antel can mount an attack. And he's looking to do just that. Look at the sun. That wouldn't be affecting the drivers, just for us and the camera crew. But will he go alongside, look for the inside, a line down into the final corner. And he has to ease up, make sure he doesn't make contact. And that's going to cost the likes of Antel on the move down towards Andretti. You can see if he had a better exit out of there, he's got the speed down along the straights. just needs to be in a little bit of a closer position to make that move.
Yeah, just not quite having the pace. And, well, here comes Daniel Rowe. Oh, sorry, Johannes Grayling on Daniel Rowe. And Grayling as well. Another BMW pulling out a very, very good performance. Grayling, I think he qualified in the top 10, didn't he? For the start of this race, and he's managed to keep that BMW in the top 10, 7th at the moment, challenging for 6th. And into the final corner, does well to not run into the back of the Audi, but I think Daniel Rowe, maybe a bit of delayed avoiding action, and that has cost him a place.
Grayling making it look nice and simple, Rowe losing it on the exit. That's a free position he would not have wanted to give up.
Good performance so far from the two BMWs in the top 10, 2nd and 6th so far. So it's a good showing from the updated BMWs. Of course, they did have a BOP update recently, didn't they? And BMWs seem to be that bit more competitive now. And of course, with a good driver behind them, you can get plenty of time out of this car. And that's definitely being proved here today as we're looking at Vogel. And he's got the race leader just behind him as drifts that car through the corner. And he's going to move over to let Jordan Sherritt through, not going to hold him up. And just look at the way the Lamborghini just slides through. Looks so planted around here.
Really does look comfortable, does Jordan Sherritt. I was just looking at the manufacturers in that top 10. 2 Lamborghinis, 2 BMWs. I mean, yeah, 2 BMWs, 2 Lamborghinis, 2 Audis, a Bentley, an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, and a Porsche. So not a bad mixture. It's a good mix. It's a good mix for sure. I think you like the fact that you've got a Lamborghini in 1st and 4th. Junior McCall potentially could have had maybe a couple of positions up there, but he's struggling with a bit of an injury, as we've been told by his dad, by some inside information.
I mean, it's a good performance all round from these guys, and of course it's a double down good for me because, like I said, I was quite eager to see how the 889 BMW of Enslin would be doing, and well, Jordan Sherritt leads the way in my favourite manufacturer, and Enslin in 2nd place at the moment in probably one of my new favourite manufacturers. And can't get much better than that for me at the moment. It is good to see a Porsche up there in 3rd, though. Obviously representing for George, as you did say you would be cheering on the White Rabbit Gaming boys tonight, but they haven't really had a race to remember, have they, so far?
No, it didn't go that way, and maybe the Porsche representation going to give me a bit of good news to get a bed to. But yeah, not going the way for White Rabbit Gaming. I mentioned it earlier. Sometimes it's the way that it goes. I've myself been in similar situations and had races not go the way that I wanted them to go, so I can completely sympathize, and it's not nice to have a race not go the way it should have after putting time and effort in. But for the drivers that have managed to have their races to the full extent out here over what has felt like the last 10 minutes, but we've been here for almost an hour during this race. 26 minutes on the clock remained. 80 minutes was on the timer before the green flags wave. Jordan Sherritt, the man featured on the screen, has led the way from the very start and has just continued to build the gaps up that he needed to build up. So his pit stops were uncontested. He's never been in a situation where his potential for winning the race has been at risk. Eric Ensign and Junior McCall, I mean, the two of them had a very consistent race early on. Enslin had to chase down McCall for a long part of that race before things switched up. Masters, who sat comfortably in 2nd whilst Enslin and McCall battled out, eventually lost out to Enslin after the pit stop strategies were served out. Enslin with that later pit stop getting ahead of Masters. And down the order from them, on Iwasaki. Finds himself just sitting in 5th, a bit of a casual race coming out from him, nothing too special to feature, but you know, it's good points for the Retro boys. Kraling doing the same thing, picking up those points. Daniel Rowe for G4 Sim, he's had a couple of situations that haven't gone his way, but still lucky to find himself in the top 10. Lewis and Krobler in 8th and 9th. Krobler having a bit of a recovery drive, having to come out. He hasn't really featured too much since the early phases of the race, the 2-1-3 here. Really just trying to get as many points as he can for Retro. And then, of course, Francis Vogel from Team Racehorse Complete, or Team Tryhard Racing, as we switch to him. Gives it a little bit of a ascendant spin. Will stay on the circuit, is in 10th place. If Christian Deploy, who's in 11th, can catch up to Francis Vogel and take that 10th place, that will then mean that we have 2 Ferraris, 2 Audis, 2 BMWs, and 2 Lamborghinis all in the top 10. So small mistakes like that from Vogel could prove that prophecy true. Junior McCall now on Keegan Masters, and we're going to catch up with that. Inside line left open there. Masters will allow McCall to get through. So that's 3rd place on the podium. I say allow him to get through. It felt like that from catching it at the last split second. That inside line from
George.
Junior didn't take it. Tell me.
I thought I had a little suspicion that there was damage on the front of that number 18 Porsche, and a quick inspection has proved that there is definitely damage on the front end of that Porsche.
So maybe is the reason why he looked like he just didn't have the legs to throw it against the Lamborghini on the previous lap. And after getting past, I mean, Junior has put himself well up in front, 1.2 seconds up the road. 8 seconds still behind the likes of Enslin. So 23 minutes of racing to go. If Junior finds that hidden pace that we've seen the McCall brothers find in closing phases of races before, he finds that, he could find himself getting back towards fighting for that 2nd place position. Oh, that is a car phase in the wrong direction. And what is that? Was it a 416?
316 Audi, I think that was.
Christopher Radloff from Sarko spinning it out and losing that traction in the tires. Still got 20 minutes of racing to go. Lucky not to have a collision with anybody there. Peter's now on the back of the Ladin Esports Ferrari. Will he have a look down the inside? Going to go defensive is Deploy, trying to squeeze as much as he can to the right side. Going to be forced onto the inside line. Where does the drive come out? And you see the 2nd place sitter Alaric Enston behind the battle here. So for now, Deploy going to stick to that inside line. Going to be split up here. They're going to be fighting for position and need to give this position up to Alaric Enston as well. So the space going to be given, and the position comes through. Ansel capitalizing big on that move coming through. Around the outside, Ansel tries to go against Peters. He's still got the outside line. He's a car length, well, not a car length, a half a car length ahead. And that is exactly what Deploy needed. He needed Ansel and Peters to throw it together. And they're not done yet, Ryan.
No, they're not, and you can see them there in the background, the 111 of Antel and Peters in the 147 Bentley going at it, but I think Antel has got the place now on Peters, and there's some damage on that 111 Porsche as well, I've just noticed. But we're looking back from the rear view of the Porsche. You can see how close the Bentley was getting, but I think Mark Antel now finally, gets a bit squirmy out of the antepenultimate corner, and now coming into the final corner. Is the Bentley going to have enough to get onto the back of the Porsche? No, it doesn't look like it. And some brilliant racing there.
Some moments there, Mark Antel and Peters just side by side, and Deploy just keeps his nose clean, and he now starts to see that 111 in his rearview mirror, starting to just remind him that he's got to get the show on the road. He had Peters doing this before. Now he's got Ansel. He's got to back them up enough that Peters starts to have a look towards Ansel. And on the inside, Ansel trying to have a look. Looks like he's going to get a better drive coming out. He is going to go side by side alongside the Ferrari. This is a dangerous place trying to have a look. Has to back out, does the right thing, but Peters now should have the drive up towards the corkscrew. Oh, that was JC Grobler facing the wrong way, was it? Or was that JC Grobler facing the wrong direction? I just saw a yellow Ferrari.
I think you were correct, George. I think that was JC Grobler facing the wrong way.
I think he's jumped out because I can't connect to his car and deploy here. But his hands full. Exactly what we said. Needs to back that Porsche into striking distance of the Bentley behind, because that will work for him in creating the space he needs to just hold it out. 20 minutes on the clock to go, deep into the Andretti hairpin, and a little bit wide on the exit. Ansel all over this, and not wanting deploy to have any breathing room whatsoever.
No, he doesn't, and the 111 of Antel thinks he can have it on the inside line. Now there's contact between the Ferrari and the Porsche. That's going to allow the Bentley of Peters to come through as well. He'll say thank you very much for that. And I don't think Deploy's going to be too happy with that overtake, because a bit of unnecessary contact in there from the Porsche.
So Mark Ansel going to let it go to the stewards. Doesn't give the position back and is at risk of losing 2 positions if he does back out, because Peters is between them. So that going to go out to the stewards post-race to investigate. And some good racing still coming out on track. Some questionable overtakes, I'm sure, will be raised up. We can't catch everything, but some really good driving as well that we've caught on camera. Cars going side by side where they shouldn't be having a look to go side by side. Junior McCall making his way through that backmarked traffic of the battle we were following on before. That challenge we set to catch up to Incident not looking very doable at this phase. 9 seconds now, the gap. Mistakes can be made. 17 minutes of racing is a long time for things to change up. But if it was based on lap times and consistency alone, bar mistakes or back markers getting in the way, Incident has been putting time between himself and 3rd position.
Yeah, anything can change. And looking through the timing board, everyone's done their mandatory pit stop, so no one will be coming back in intentionally for the next 7 minutes and 16 seconds that the pit window is open. Just to have a bit of a read through, George, of some of the drivers that have DNF'd in this race. Obviously, JC Grobler having just DNF'd a moment ago. Morgan McCall is out of the race as well, and so is, of course, Jason Absmeyer and Bernard King. So quite a few drivers out of the race here. And that's not even counting any of the drivers caught up in that turn 2 melee on the very first lap. So we seem to have lost quite a few drivers from the race. We started with, 33? And we're now down to 26. So quite a few people falling victim to Laguna Seca already.
Definitely not been an easy circuit for a lot of people. And the racing has been ups and downs. I think for a lot of people who have some names that they were supporting, not having the races that they wanted. If you're a Jordan Sherritt fan, you most certainly have had your fix of seeing him lead up the front. We haven't always been able to follow on board with our cameras with him. Junior McCall. Also, again, the narrative of what happens in quali and what happens in the race is a little bit different out there. But as to represent for the McCalls at this stage with Morgan being out, Victor de Kock, also one of the drivers not going to be crossing the checkered flag at the end of this 15 minutes. So, couple of plagued drivers, I suppose, and drivers that have had incidents. JC Krobler, I think you said after that spin just jumped back down to the pits and will sit there for the remainder of the race. So still wanting to pick up some finished race points, I suppose. Arno Vasaki and Johannes Grayling, obviously both from Retro Sim, find themselves in a nice position in 5th and 6th. This has not gone the way out for Quade Claessens though at all. 17th place for the ATK driver. 2nd place last week in the GT3 opening round. Again, we say it, that's the way that racing sometimes happens, and hasn't worked out entirely for Quade either.
Yeah, and he finds himself 2 laps down as well, from the leader, in fact, Quade Claessens. So, yeah, quite a poor race for him, as I've just seen a Lamborghini go spinning. That's the number 29. And lost a couple of positions in that as well. I think Quade Claessens might have got past amongst all of that, but yeah, a few people finding it difficult out there again, and it is so easy around this circuit. Dip a tyre onto that sand, easily go spinning, and especially in cars like the Lamborghini, so much weight on the rear of that car, being a rear engine car, and the moment that driving wheel at the back touches the sand, the car just loses all sense of control. And
the sand is particularly difficult here at Laguna as well. The way that it's modeled up.
Yeah.
Really not friendly at all. And I think there's a lot of circuits...
That's very accurate though.
For sure. But I think that's also what a lot of circuits require, is that risk of putting a car off track being potentially just race ending, as opposed to having a struggled... I don't know what I'm trying to get to there. How do I describe it? No, I'm struggling to describe how I want to describe it in the way that I want to.
I think there are some examples of some very different ways of designing tracks. I mean, you have like Laguna Seca in the middle of a desert, essentially. You have sand everywhere, and the sand is a deterrent for people trying to do track cuts, because the moment you step out on the stuff, you're most likely going to be going spinning, or you're definitely going to slow down and lose some positions. You have some other examples like Paul Ricard, for example, which has those it's tarmac all on the outside, and it has the painted lines, and depending on the color of the line depends on how it uses this like anti-grip. I don't really know the proper term for it. It slows the car down, basically. Yeah, there are different ways of doing it. Of course, some circuits just like to put grass and gravel on the side, which is what a lot of people seem to prefer. And I don't inherently think there is a right or wrong way to do it, but I think one of the things that Laguna Seca has that makes it a bit interesting is that the grass and the gravel around here is so horrible that it really does deter people from trying to cut corners.
I think that's exactly it, is there are different ways of doing things, and yeah, it does just, when I drive in the circuit, I know that margin for error isn't there. You hardly have much runoff on the side of the exit of apexes. You don't have a lot of that place to really put the car out of line, and yeah, I think an 80-minute race here is quite taxing on the mental focus that you have to put out. So big shout out to all our drivers and of course our viewers as well. Thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't left a cheeky like, I would greatly appreciate some of the sports if you did leave one. And of course, you can share the streams. All of this goes towards what we can show Raceface in terms of the reach that we're trying to get. We're trying to broadcast the other splits as well. So if you haven't gone over and just left a little comment on that, Doe is doing a good job at broadcasting the Pro Am division as well. Maybe one day we'll have all 4 splits broadcast. Who knows? Got Jason in chat as well, saying that I'm lost for words. The world's gonna end. I mean, potentially. I didn't know how to articulate my point. Ryan jumped in and summarized my feelings on the matter. So, you know, I'm maybe a little bit starstruck. You're right, Ryan. A little bit starstruck of your presence here. So, pit window closes. Final 10 minutes of the race on the clock. And for us, Ryan, I mean, this is a little bit of a teaser for some of the racing on the weekend. Of course, we go over to Bathurst, so a completely different circuit, but we've seen some time progression, and our 12-hour Bathurst Enduro is going to be absolutely nuts. You've created a cool little race program for that, so we've got some South African drivers featuring out, and if you haven't checked that out, definitely go and have a look at our race program. That's a cool little bit of sim racing content. I'm very proud of what you did, Ryan.
Oh, thank you. It's a lot of work. It really is, and it's so nice to see people appreciate it. And there's quite a few big influencers been sharing it around their communities as well today, which has kind of got me with a real feel good factor. That, you know, quite a few of these guys are looking at it, they're reading it, they're appreciating it, and you know they're just wanting to share it, you know, and get it to as many people as possible. And yeah, like you said, George, it's going to be so exciting, and we have 25 South Africans across all 4 classes. Of course, 2 splits going, the Pro-Am split, and then, of course, the Silver and Am split. And yeah, 25 South Africans across the entire field of 303 drivers. Absolutely incredible numbers. And, well, we can't wait for the weekend. It's going to be amazing, isn't it?
And I've had a good week of sim racing. I've had some Toyota prep to do. I've got, I mean, it really has been crazy. I've done a little bit of prep for something else that's going to be announced soon. Then, of course, the Raceface stuff yesterday with you, the GT4s. Then Friday night, we've got our Endurance Championship, which is not going to happen. But obviously, that's postponed out for what's happening with the big 12-hour Enduro on the weekend. So it's been a real sim-packed week, and that's the way that I like it. And yeah, I get a little bit of a kick from sim racing. I think some people enjoy watching real-life motorsport. I enjoy sim racing, and I enjoy seeing what people can do on the circuit. So Jason's saying we'll all rest in pieces around the track on Saturday. So, you know, I think there are going to be a couple of collisions. I mean, Bathurst is Bathurst, right? And 12 hours there, you know, you don't have to be good at maths to do the multiplication as to what the potential risks are. But let's just see if we can track along with anyone that's in a position or in a place for a position change. I don't quite think we do have anyone that's in that. I mean, at the moment, Junior a little bit down the field from Alaric, still caught up in traffic. Gordon Sherritt way up the order, running away with things in first. 6 minutes on the clock, so coming down into what should be our last 3 laps.
I think the closest battle on track at the moment is probably that of Mark Antel and Bernard Peters. This is it here. It's the 111 has attempted to get away from the 147 Bentley, but not quite succeeded, as Peters is staying firmly on his tail. You can see looking back here from the Porsche. And now on the front splitter of the Bentley as we come through the corkscrew. Such a fantastic angle to see, and that corkscrew as well, so deceiving, even in the sim. it doesn't look that intimidating from the onboards, but I mean, trust me, you see it in person, it's unbelievable. 3-story drop from top to bottom for that sequence of corners. Absolutely incredible, and it's definitely got the reputation for one of the hardest tracks, or one of the hardest corners on any track in the States.
And Ryan, just look at that gap between Sheraton and Ensslin. 23 seconds was the updated timing spot that I saw. So without Darren King here, if we have Darren King and Jordan Sherritt next week, we should be in for a party, because the two of them have had similar starts to the season in the 2 races that we've seen them, not having someone to battle with on track in front of them.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic performance though from Sherritt, hasn't it? Can't really take anything away from him. Kind of just pulled away at the start and hasn't really looked troubled since. And of course, as one of the Raceface Speed Labs instructors, it's one of the best ways to advertise your product as a driver coach, isn't it? To just go out there and storm the field and win so dominantly. And of course, as George mentioned earlier, you can check out Raceface Speed Labs and get yourself some driver coaching or some replay reviews. Can definitely help out a lot. I know some people that have already benefited from some driver coaching, and it really can go a long way from some of these guys like Bruno Cadilli and Jordan Sherritt that really do know what they're doing. And of course, Ulrich Ensslin, he's representing Coach Dave Academy here tonight, which is another sim racing coaching service that he does work with. And we've just seen Peters go off there, and has he looped it around? No, not quite, but almost put his Bentley in the tyre barrier and did very well to save that. So
that is definitely going to cost him big time in trying to stay onto the back of Antle. That gap going to increase. And, big collision actually being caught on camera there. I'm not quite sure who sent it through there. Was one of the Black Widow cars caught up in it?
105 of Vogel was caught with someone.
Trying to just spot it out here. I can't quite see on our timing.
There was a Lamborghini involved in there, wasn't there? Was I incorrect on that? I think I saw a Lamborghini involved in all of that. It was definitely the 105 Aston Martin, which has had its fair share of moments in this race. Let's not forget. I mean, has been off quite a few times, but still sits in 11th place. So despite those offs, still a good finishing position so far for the 105.
Yeah, nothing gone catastrophically wrong, and we'll be scooping up the points. Looking down the field, I don't quite see anybody else fighting it out, but still going to try and find someone if we can. Obviously, there's a lot of cars caught up in lapped car situations that also give us a proximity warning to them being relatively close to one another. And that would be the case here between Antle and Albertine. So blue flags will be waved at the number 185 Aston Martin, or that Porsche behind him to get through. Over to Alric Ensslin again, like you talked about, from Coach Dave Academy. Really impressed with what he's shown up to in this season so far. Good to have him back. He has not been driving in South African series for a long time. But really good to have Alric Ensslin back with us. And last week, 3rd place. And this week, potentially going to find himself in 2nd. 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock. Let's find out where our race leader is in relation to that timing sheet. It looked like he just sent it through the corkscrew, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Jordan Sherritt looking comfortable in that car, though, despite the fact that looked like he was sailing over the corkscrew. But that Lamborghini has been completely planted all race long from what we've seen. And he will start the final lap of the race. So Jordan Sherritt, 57 laps down, one more to go. And it's looking like a surefire win for the 634 Lamborghini. And like you said, Darren King, well, it's going to be interesting to see those two go head-to-head next week, if both of them are here and available. And in fact, both of these guys are going to be at the 12 Hours of Bathurst as well on the weekend, George.
They are,
Jordan
so
Sherritt.
we will see them racing out there with their teams. So it should be a good, interesting scenario, right? I mean, is Dulking driving for Fordzilla?
He is. He's driving in the 38 Fordzilla Mercedes, and Jordan Sherritt is driving for the 37 Yas Heat Ferrari. So
That's it.
two different manufacturers in there. So spices it up a bit, but spicing it up here at Raceface, Jordan Sherritt, he's going to round the final corner in the Lamborghini to take a dominant win here at Laguna Seca, fully deserved, fully earned, and a fantastic show of his incredible pace out here in the Lamborghini at Laguna Seca, and a well-deserved win for the man who will be on his way to Mount Panorama in the morning to get himself ready to drive the Ferrari. Ulrich Enslin, he won't be going to Mount Panorama this weekend, but I tell you what, he's going to be going home with back-to-back podiums in the BMW, flashing the lights to show how happy he is for that result. And then Junior McCall, who will also be flying out to Bathurst tomorrow morning, well, he's going to come home for a well-deserved third place with an injured finger as well to top it off. So
The injured finger,
there.
the chat loved it. Jason said that some cement needed, but Junior does get that third place podium. Nonetheless, Keegan Masters from G4 Sim around the penultimate corner, and will then eventually find the final corner for the final time here at Laguna Seca. What a great round 2 it has been for season 4. And I couldn't have asked for a better co-commentator, Ryan, to help me out with the racing this evening. We've had some good scenarios out on track. So Keegan Masters takes home 4th. Arno Visahi will slot himself into 5th. A lot of drivers crossing over the line. So Visahi 5th, Kraling 6th, Rowe 7th, Lewis 8th, Ansel 9th and 10th for Peters. So good racing coming out all across the board. And next week, Ryan, we head off to Barcelona for the GT4s, firstly on Wednesday and then on Thursday into the GT3s. So that will be good. That will be good to watch for sure. And from myself, and of course, Ryan Gill, thank you so much for joining us. Chat, thank you for supporting us, leaving a like and a cheeky subscribe where you could. We appreciate all the support. So massive congratulations to our podium finishers. And we will see you guys on the weekend for the RCI 12 Hour of Bathurst. That, of course, on the RCI YouTube channel. Don't miss the action. I'll be joined by Ryan Gill, and then, of course, Jesse Lee and Mike Jones also adding to the commentary mix. So we really should have a good show out on the road. It's been good. I've enjoyed being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. Hopefully the audio delay is gone and we don't have weird voice things, but we're playing with some audio things this evening. So thanks for being patient, and we'll see you next week.